Hi. So I'm a biologist and a microbiologist, so I'm really excited about things that sometimes are a little bit gross, a little bit disgusting. I'm fascinated by bacteria, by mold, how they grow, how they digest things, how they communicate with each other, and then how we interact with them. So I use bioengineering, I use evolutionary biology, and I use design and art to ask questions about how we interact with bacteria at a level both biological but also cultural. So cheese is a great way to really think about this. So cheese is carefully rotten milk. So working with cheesemakers, bacteria will curdle and flavor milk, turning it into cheese. So what I do in the project I want to tell you about today is I make cheese with bacteria that I collect from the human body, from armpits, from mouths, from between toes. This is actually cheese made with belly button bacteria. And so I want to really start off by saying that this isn't cheese for eating, but this is cheese for thinking. So I want us to really think about our relationships to bacteria, think about the ways that human and microbial cultures intersect, and the interesting ways that we can sort of work with that in the future. So I think the way that we interact with bacteria has really changed a lot in recent years. We used to have this sort of idea that bacteria as these hordes of evil guys trying to sort of attack us. And that's really changed a lot to an idea of more our body as an ecosystem of human and microbial cells. And it's really changed the way that we think about health and disease. So now we have this idea that there's bacteria that are good, and maybe there's some bacteria that are bad. We haven't totally eliminated all bacteria that are bad. And so we have to sort of renegotiate our relationship to bacteria, relearn how to live with them, and to balance the good and the bad together. So my collaborator on this project, Sissel Tolas, is an odor artist, and so she encounters this, she sort of thinks about good and bad in a different way, not about bacteria, but about smells. So an odor artist is somebody who, instead of sort of paintings and sculptures, is making smells. And those smells really challenge us to consider, to paraphrase Hamlet, that nothing stinks, but thinking makes it so. And so cheese is actually a really great model organism for us to think about good and bad bacteria, but also good and bad smells. So isovaleric acid, for all those organic chemistry fans out there, is a really interesting small molecule. It smells like sweaty socks. But it's also the main sort of flavor component of Swiss cheese. The intersections between cheese and feet go much deeper. So you have a lot of oils and proteins that bacteria can eat. You have sort of moisture and saltiness. That's a really good environment for bacteria. One of my friends who's a microbiologist who studies cheese says that cheese is actually 20 times concentrated feet. So it's really no surprise that you'd see actually the same species of bacteria, or very similar species of bacteria, living in between your toes and living in cheese. So this is what inspired us to do our project, to sample bacteria from between our toes, to put it into milk, to create these microbial artworks that challenge us to really think about our relationship to bacteria, to our symbionts in our food, in our bodies, to make us think that maybe we really are what we eat. So I understand that this is gross, and I promise that I don't do this to turn you off of cheese forever, but rather to really think about how cheese is sort of part of this really interesting microbial landscape, to make you think about these beautiful connections and these beautiful metabolic activities that are going on. And over the years that I've been working on this project, I've really changed a lot too. I've encountered a lot of bacteria. I've encountered a lot of smells that were challenging for me, and I've really learned to overcome. And so while I've gotten very comfortable with bacteria, I want to tell you a little story about what happened to me recently while I've been making new cheeses for a science gallery in Dublin. So I've been working on making all of these cheeses. I do it at home. I form the cheese and I ripen them in my kitchen, and I put them in the cabinet above my refrigerator to ripen and age. And then what happened is I had to go on vacation, not a vacation, I went to conference, and I come back and I realized that I had accidentally made casu marzu. So has anyone heard of this cheese? It's a Sardinian traditional cheese that the word is rotten cheese in Sardinian language, and it doesn't have only bacteria and fungus, but it also has insect larvae that are chewing it and digesting it. And so in Sardinia, if the maggots are dead, that's a bad sign. Don't eat that cheese, so you want it to still be moving. So my cheese was moving, and it really made me sort of encounter prejudices that I have against the macrobiological, and to really make me think anew about the ways that culture really matters when we're talking about cheese and bacteria. Context really matters, biological context, and care really matters, the way that we interact and take care of the ecologies around us. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.